Welcome to the video solution of the CAT 23 Slot 3 Quant Section. Now kindly understand that this paper was slightly on the difficult side, and hence in a normal paper, in case a good score could be attempting 10 to 12 questions, on a difficult paper that number of questions attempted could go down to 7 to 8 as well. So yes, the number of sitters are going to be slightly lower, and the time to, let's say, solve many of the questions would be on the higher side. So because this particular paper was slightly more on algebra and one can say a moderate kind of arithmetic, but yes, again among the arithmetic also few of the questions were doable. So the task is to identify the easy one and, let's say, spend the time on the B question where you are very confident of arriving at the answer. So one need to gauge the pitch. So kindly understand that not every time a team can score a 400 plus score. It depends on the pitch to pitch. So in this particular case, again, the paper was slightly on the difficult side, and hence a lower marks can also fetch you a decent kind of percentile. In this particular sum, it is given that if x is a positive real number such that x power 8 plus 1 upon x power 8 is equal to 47, then the value of x power 9 plus 1 upon x power 9 is equals to how much? So not a very straightforward problem. If I have to put them under A, B or C category, I can call this particular question to be of type B. So the time to possibly solve this particular question could be approximately 2 to 3 minutes depending on how much formula is known to us. So the first thing which would strike to me in this particular question would be that the number x power 8 can be written basically as x power 4 whole square, or maybe x square raised to 4. Then if I look at the thing which I want to evaluate, the term, let's say x power 9, I can think about as x cube whole cube. So somewhere we have to possibly think of some algebraic formulas which could be a square plus b square and taking the help of a cube plus b cube concept. Please do keep in mind about the given condition that x is a positive real number. So the given thing was x power 8 plus 1 upon x power 8. So what I can do is I can write the term as x power 4 whole square plus 1 upon x power 4 whole square equals to a 47. So now you have basically something of the form a square plus b square. So the formula happens to be nothing but a plus b whole square minus 2ab. So in this particular case, we can write this part LHS as x power 4 plus 1 upon x power 4 whole square minus 2ab will give you a minus of 2 into x power 4 into 1 upon x power 4 equals to a 47. Now the term x power 4 can be easily cancelled. So one will now going to get x power 4 plus 1 upon x power 4 whole square will be equals to a 47 plus 2 giving you a 49. And now if I take the square root on both sides, one can say you will get x power 4 plus 1 upon x power 4 to be equals to a 7. Please note I have not taken the value of, let's say, x power 4 plus 1 upon x power 4 to be equals to minus 7 because x is a positive real number. So x power 4 and 1 upon x power 4 both are going to be a positive quantity. Then applying the same formula once again. So the term I can write as x square whole square 1 upon x square whole square will be equals to a 7. And again, we can take the help of a square plus b square is a plus b whole square minus 2ab. That will give you x square plus 1 upon x square whole square minus 2 into a into b. And then one will get x square plus 1 upon x square whole square equals to a 7 plus 2, which is 9. So one will get x square plus 1 upon x square whole square equals to a 9. And again, if I take the square root, one will get this particular term to be equals to a 3. So please note at this particular moment also I have not taken the value to be equals to a minus 3 because the term x square and 1 upon x square are going to be both positive. Now once I got x square plus 1 upon x square to be equals to a 3, again we can find out the value of x plus 1 upon x. So we can now do something like this: x plus 1 upon x whole square minus 2ab. So one can say the value of x plus 1 upon x whole square will become equals to a 3 plus 2 giving you a 5. So the term x plus 1 upon x will become equals to a root 5. Again, I am not counting the value minus root 5 here because x is a positive real number. So x plus 1 upon x become equals to a root 5. Once I do this, Then the thing which I want to calculate happens to be nothing but x power 9 plus 1 upon x power 9. So for that, I need to know the value of x cube plus 1 upon x cube. So let's use the formula a cube plus b cube is a plus b whole cube minus 3ab into a plus b. So the value of x cube plus 1 upon x cube will be equals to x plus 1 upon x whole cube minus 3 into x into 1 by x times x plus 1 by x. And if you look at over here that the term x plus 1 upon x has a value of, let's say, root 5. So root 5 cube basically will become nothing but a 5 root 5. Minus this particular part will become 3 into root 5. So 5 root 5 minus 3 root 5 happens to be equals to a 2 root 5. So once we got the value of x cube plus 1 upon x cube as 2 root 5, it will be easier for us to again apply the same formula. So x power 9 plus 1 upon x power 9 is equals to x cube plus 1 upon x cube whole cube minus 3 into x cube into 1 upon x cube into x cube plus 1 upon x cube. And if I put the values, the term x cube plus 1 upon x cube is known to me as 2 root 5. So 2 root 5 whole cube basically will become equals to, one can say, 8 into 5 root 5, giving you a 40 root 5. Minus, this part will get cancelled out. 3 into 2 root 5 will give you a 6 root 5. So 40 root 5 minus 6 root 5 give you nothing but a 34 root 5. So again, one can see that we are applying the same formula a square plus b square, a cube plus b cube multiple times, and that is the reason why I am saying it is not a category problem, but definitely in a difficult paper like this could be termed as a B category for someone who know the algebraic formula properly. In the next sum, it is given that for some real numbers a and b, the system of the equation x plus y equals to 4 and a plus 5 into x plus b square minus 15 into y is equals to 8b has infinite many solutions for x and y, then maximum possible value of a into b is how much? So again, if you look at this particular question is asking you on a proper concept. So we know that if I have two equations, let's say a1x plus b1y equal to c1 and a2x plus b2y equals to c2, in that particular case, for this two equation to give you infinite possible values of x and y, the condition is a1 by a2 should be equals to b1 upon b2 equals to a c1 upon c2. So the ratio of the coefficient of x will be equal to ratio of the coefficient of y. At the same time, they are also going to be equal to ratio of the constant term. But please be very careful about the given thing, which is maximum possible value of a into b. The task is to maximize. So we will use this particular condition. As I told you, I will use the property. The ratio of the coefficient of x from the two equation become nothing but a 1 over a plus 5. The ratio of the coefficient of y will become, one can say, 1 over b square minus a 15. And that will also going to be equal to ratio of the constant term, which is going to be equals to a 4 upon 8b. So now definitely we can take the first and the second term, or first and third, or second and third. But the ideal thing to do in this particular case would be to take the second and the third one. Why? Because in this particular case, second and third one are only in terms of b, and we can easily find out the possible value of b. So if you look at over here, this is going to be further equals to, one can say, 1 upon 2b. So I am rewriting the term 4 upon 8b as, let's say, 1 upon 2b. So if I take the second and the third term and if I do a cross multiplication, one will get b square minus 15 to be equals to a 2b. Or one can say b square minus 2b minus 15 is equals to a 0. Now this becomes a simple middle term. So I can factorize this particular part basically as b minus 5 into a b plus 3 equals to a 0. So one can say that we are getting two possible values of b. One is 5 or a negative 3. Now let's also find out the corresponding value of a. So if I suppose try to equate the first part and the second part, then one can say 1 upon a plus 5, and I'm putting, let's say, b equals to 5 over here first of all. So 1 upon b square minus 15 term will become 5 square minus 15, or one can say 25 minus 15, which is 10. So if I cross multiply, one will get a plus 5 is equals to a 10, giving you the value of a to be also equals to 5. So for b equal to 5, we found out that the value of a also become equals to 5. So the one set of values of a times of b will become nothing but a 25. So please note, we do see a 25, but it will be in a hurry to mark option number, let's say 3 as the answer at this particular moment. Let's also try to evaluate what is the value of, let's say, a for b equals to -3. So if I put b equals to a -3, one will get 1 upon a plus 5 to be equals to 1 upon the term b square minus 15 will become equals to, one can say, minus 3 square minus 15. This will give you 1 upon a plus 5 to be equals to, one can say, 1 upon 9 minus 15 happens to be a minus 6. And if you solve for this, one will get a plus 5 as minus 6. That will give you the value of a to be equals to a -11. So in this particular case, when b equals to a -3, the value of a into b becomes, one can say, -11 into -3, which is 33. And since my target was to find out the maximum value of a into b, one will choose 33 and one can straight away mark option number 2 as the answer for this particular question. In the next sum, it is given that for a real number x, if half comma log of 2 raised to x minus 9 base 3 divide by log of 4 to the base 3 and log of 2 power x plus 17 by 2 base 5 divide by log of 4 to the base 5 are in AP. So here you can see a question on AP. At the same time, the term given to you are in terms of log, and the task is to find out how much is the common difference of such AP. So in this particular case, one need to know certain formula of logarithm. They should also know the property of AP to enable to solve this particular question. So again, not a very straightforward problem. So, but if you look at the approaches, if I know this particular property, that log of, let's say, a to the base b upon log of c to the base b, this I can write as log of a to the base c. I will take the help of this property to, let's say, reduce my second term and the third term. Because if I look at, suppose, this particular term, I can see the common base of 3. So my second term with this particular property can be written as log of 2 raised to x minus 9 base is 4. Now what about the third term? The third term, again, similarly, I can use this particular property and we can write as log of 2 raised to x plus 17 by 2 base is 4. So the good part basically happens is my second term and the third term in logarithm both has the base 4. So somehow what I can also do is I can write my first term, which is half, also in terms of log of something to the base 4. So if I have log of something base 4, what we know is that log 4 base 4 happens to be a 1. But if I want to write the number, let's say, half in terms of log of some base 4, understand log of 16 to the base 4 is equals to a 2. And one can say that log of 2 to the base 4 happens to be nothing but equals to a half. This was the trick. If I can write this particular part, now what happens is that for all the log term, the base basically become same. And now we can choose to apply the property of arithmetic progression. That if, let's say, 3 term, let's say A, B and C happens to be in AP, then one can say 2B is equals to a plus C. So now one can say twice of the middle term. So 2 times of log of 2 raised to x minus 9 base 4 is equals to log 2 base 4 plus log of 2 raised to x plus 17 by 2 to the base 4. And now we can again apply some basic law of logarithm. So the left hand side one can write as log of 2 power x minus 9 whole square base 4. Log of m plus log of n is equals to log of m into n. So this particular part one can write as base 4. This will be 2 into this particular term. That will become 2 power x into 2 plus 2 into 17 by 2 will give me a 17. And now at this particular moment, we can choose to, let's say, equate both sides. Now, what I will do is I will possibly assume the term 2 power x to be equals to some number, let's say a at this particular moment. So one is going to find out that the term a minus 9 whole square is equals to a 2a plus 17. And now I'm going to solve for the value of a. So one will get a square minus 18a plus 81 is equals to a 2a plus 17. Let's bring everything on the left hand side. So one will get a square minus 20a plus 64. 81 minus 17 happens to be a 64. So a square minus 20a plus 64 equals to 0. This you can use formula, you can use middle term split. One will get a minus 4 into a minus 16 equals to 0. And that will give you the value of a to be equals to 4 or a 16. Now understand the term that 2 power x minus 9, or one can say the term a minus 9 should also be positive, because log of negative basically is undefined. So in this particular case, despite getting the value of a to be equals to 4 or 16, I should discard a equals to 4 over here, and I should take the value of a to be equals to a 16, or one can say in short 2 power x basically happens to be equals to a 16. So once we get this, we will replace the term, let's say 2 power x equals to a 16, and I can write this sequence. Suppose if I look at this particular term properly, what do we have? Log 2 base 4 comma log of 2 power x minus 9, one can say 16 minus 9 becomes a 7 base 4 comma log of, this will become, one can say 16 plus 17 by 2. So one get a 49 by 2, base is 4 over here. And now since this sequence happens to be in AP, I just need to find out the common difference. So I can simply do this term minus this term. So even the third term was not supposed to be evaluated. If I find out log of 7 base 4 minus of log of 2 base 4, log of m minus log of n is equals to a log of m upon n, and that will give you log of 7 by 2 base 4, and that means the required answer for this particular question would be option number 1. So one can see one need to apply so much, a quadratic, AP property, then one need to apply different property of logarithm to solve this particular question, and eventually it's not a very straightforward one. One can put this under a B category. In the next sum, it is given that let n and m be two positive integers such that there are exactly 41 integer more than 8 power m and less than 8 power n, which can be expressed as powers of 2. Then the smallest possible value of n plus m is how much? So in this particular case, first of all, not a very straightforward, one can say standard question where people know what exactly need to be done. So the first thing which you possibly want to do is, since I want a 41 integer of the form 2 power something between 8 power m and 8 power n, let's try to write down the number 8 power m and let's say 8 power n in some powers of 2. As we know, the number 8 happens to be a 2 cube. So between the number 8 power m and 8 power n, we can write 2 power 3m and 2 power 3n. And between this, there should be exactly 41 integer which are going to be powers of 2 over here. Now please note this particular point. The task is to find out the smallest possible value of n plus n. They need to be as low as possible. And they have told you the condition on m and n happens to be they are nothing but two positive integer. So since I want to minimize, obviously the value of m would be smaller, the value of n would be higher than the value of m. In this particular case, one can say that if I want n plus n to be minimum, then the value of both m and n need to be as low as possible. Now since I have told you that m and n are both positive integer, the smallest possible value of m I can put basically would be a 1. If I want to start with this, I should put the value of n to be equals to a 1. So if I put m equals to 1, the term 2 power 3m will become nothing but 2 cube. So now more than 2 cube, the first number which is going to be some powers of 2 is nothing but 2 power 4. Then one can say 2 power 5 and so on. And what do I want? I want exactly 41 integers. So starting from 2 power 4, then 2 power 5, then 2 power 6, if I want 41 such integer, this thing should basically stop at 2 power 44. So from 2 power 5, 2 power 4, 2 power 5, 2 power 6, all the way up to 2 power 44, one can say we have exactly 41 integers, which are basically in the form of 2 power something. So now what we know is that more than 2 power 3m but less than 2 power 3n, so this particular value should be 2 power 45. So one can say in this particular case that 3n should be equals to a 45, the smallest possible value of n. So we have seen the smallest value of m is 1, and the corresponding smallest value of n happens to be nothing but one can say equals to a 15, because if 3n is equals to 15, the value of n become equals to, one can say, if 3n is 45, the value of n become equals to 15, the smallest possible value. So the value of m plus n minimum will be nothing but 16, and hence option number 2 is the answer for this particular question. In the next sum, it is given that in a quadratic equation, x square plus bx plus c equal to 0 has two real roots. If the difference between the reciprocal of the root is 1 by 3, and the sum of the reciprocal of the square of the root happens to be a 5 by 9, then the largest possible value of b plus c. Again, too many information. Again, they're not asking for what is the value of b plus c, but asking for the largest possible value of b plus c. Again, not a very straightforward problem. It will take some time. People will take possibly close to 3 odd minutes, 3 to 4 minutes to crack such a problem. What is the first thing? Suppose if I look at the one method, the longer one first, that if you take suppose alpha and beta being the two roots, so I can do this, alpha plus beta will be equals to a minus of b by a, giving you a minus b, since the coefficient of x square is 1. And the product alpha into beta should be equals to c by a, giving you a c only. So we have written alpha plus beta in terms of b, and we have written alpha into beta in terms of c. Let's look at the next piece of information. If the difference between the reciprocal of the root is 1 by 3. So what is 1 by 3? It is essentially the difference between, one can say, the difference between the reciprocal. So 1 by alpha and 1 by beta are the reciprocal of the root. So 1 by alpha minus 1 by beta is equals to a 1 by 3. That is my one equation. And they are saying sum of the reciprocal of the squares of the root. That means 1 by alpha square and 1 by beta square addition. So 1 by alpha square and 1 by beta square should be equals to a 5 by 9. Now what we can do in this particular case is, suppose if I try to simplify this to some extent, one will possibly going to get beta minus alpha or alpha minus beta, let's say. Let's write beta minus alpha upon alpha beta is equals to a 1 by 3. Now if I square both sides, one will get beta minus alpha whole square upon alpha square beta square is equals to a 1 by 9. Likewise, if you look at over here, one will get a alpha square plus a beta square upon alpha square beta square is equals to a 5 by 9. So over here, if you look at, we have got something, and now what we can do is we can possibly write down the term, let's say a minus b whole square in the form of a plus b whole square minus 4ab. So this numerator beta minus alpha whole square I can write as beta plus alpha whole square minus 4 alpha beta upon alpha square beta square equals to a 1 by 9. At this particular moment, suppose if I put everything, let's say in terms of b and c, this is going to become b square minus 4c upon c square is 1 by 9, one of the equation. This particular part, alpha square plus beta square, I can write as alpha plus beta whole square minus 2 alpha beta upon alpha square beta square equals to a 5 by 9. So over here, if you look at this particular term, alpha plus beta whole square again become, one can say, b square minus 2c, and upon c square equals to 5 by 9, or one can say 5c square by 9 here. Here also if I could have cross multiplied, it will become c square by 9. Now what we can do at this particular point is, suppose if I call this as one equation and this as the other equation. Now we can try to eliminate the value of b. So if I do a subtraction, if I call this as equation number 2, equation number 1, and if someone does equation number 2 minus equation number 1, the value of b square will get cancelled out. So one will get, the left hand side will become minus 2c plus 4c, give you a 2c is equals to 5c square by 9 minus c square by 9 will give you a 4c square by 9. So from this, if you look at, one can find out that the value of c would become nothing but, since c is not equals to 0 in this particular case, the value of c would become equals to a 9 by 2. Now once you get the value of c to be equals to 9 by 2, what we can do is we can use any of the equation like this, maybe b square minus 2c. b square minus 2c is equals to 5c square by 9. So 5 by 9 into c square term is nothing but, one can say 81 by 4, because c is 9 by 2. The term 2c would become nothing but equals to a 9. So the value of b square would become equals to 9 plus this particular term, if I simplify to some extent, will become 45 by 4. Now what is 9 plus 45 by 4? It will be nothing but 4 in the denominator. One get 36 plus 45, which is 81. So if b square is 81 by 4, then the value of b is nothing but equals to, one can say, plus or plus minus 9 by 2. So we have seen the value of c comes out to be a 9 by 2. The value of b could be a plus 9 by 2 or a minus 9 by 2. The task is to find out the largest possible value of b plus c. So if c is positive, to maximize the value of b plus c, I should take the value of b also as positive. So maximum value of b plus c would be nothing but 9 by 2 plus 9 by 2, giving you a 9. And that is the answer for this particular question. So as you can see, lot of calculations are involved in this particular case, and a high chance is there for someone to make a mistake over here. So again, theta, we cannot also use options or jugaad in this particular case. Let us now look at a smarter way to solve this particular question. Again, this will involve calculation, but it will be slightly on the easier side. Now, what we can use is, suppose if I say alpha and beta are the roots of the equation x square plus bx plus c equals to 0, then suppose if I say alpha 1 and beta 1 are the reciprocals of alpha and beta. In that particular case, the equation whose roots are, let's say, alpha 1 and beta 1, one can say would be nothing but cx square plus a bx plus 1 equals to 0. This again is a known property for those who are comfortable in, let's say, quadratic equation, where one can say alpha 1 is 1 by alpha and let's say beta 1 is 1 by beta. Now what is given to you? If the difference between the reciprocal of the root is 1 by 3, so basically they have given 1 by alpha minus 1 by beta, or you can say mod of 1 by alpha minus 1 by beta. In short, one can say alpha 1 minus beta 1 is given to you as 1 by 3. Then 1 upon alpha square plus 1 upon beta square is equals to 5 by 9. So one can say alpha 1 square plus beta 1 square should be equals to, one can say, a 5 by 9 over here. Now what we can say is alpha 1 plus beta 1 is equals to a minus of b by c. Alpha 1 into beta 1 is equals to a 1 by c. And now people, at this particular moment, suppose if I do square this particular part, so it will become alpha 1 square plus a beta 1 square minus 2 alpha 1 beta 1 equals to a 1 by 9. Now this value is known to me. Alpha 1 square plus beta 1 square is equals to 5 by 9. So if I put over here 5 by 9, and if I bring this particular term 1 upon 9 on the left hand side, this should be equals to 2 times of alpha 1 beta 1, which is equals to a 1 by c. So what do we get? 4 by 9 is equals to a 2 by c. So if someone cross multiply, the value of c simply become equals to a 9 by 2. And again, since we got the value of c to be equals to a 9 by 2, we can easily find out the value of b. So again, what we can do at this particular moment is, you can look at this particular part and we can say alpha 1 plus beta 1 whole square minus 2 alpha 1 beta 1 is equals to 5 by 9. And since the value of c is known to us, we can easily find out the value of b from here. This particular part will become, one can say, b square by c square minus 2 upon c is equals to a 5 by 9. And if someone solve for the value of b over here, one will find out that the value of b can be again a plus minus 9 by 2. Objective is to maximize the value of b plus c, so we should take the positive value of b. Let's solve for this. B square by c square would be equals to 5 by 9 plus 2 by c. What can one say about the value of 2 by c? 2 by c, one can say, would be nothing but equals to a 4 by 9. This particular part will become 9 by 9, giving you a 1. That means b square is equals to a c square. So b is equals to a plus minus c. So it could be equals to a plus minus 9 by 2. But since my task is to maximize the value of b plus c, I will take, for c equals to 9 by 2, I will take the value of b also as 9 by 2. And hence the max possible value of b plus c become equals to a 9. And that is our answer. But please note, having said that, this is not again a straightforward method. Not many would have been able to identify this method under the exam conditions. The next question says the sum of the first two natural number, each having 15 factors, including 1 and the number itself is. So again, not a straightforward problem. Few negative for this type of problem happens to be, one can say it's a theta based question. They say sum of the first two, that means the smallest two natural number, having 15 factor, exactly 15 factors. Now, first of all, people should know how to find out the number of factors. So we know that if I have a number in the form of a power p into b power q, and let's say into c power r also, where a and b are the prime factor, and the number of factor happens to be nothing but, one can say, p plus 1 into q plus 1. And in case I also have one more prime factor c, then p plus 1 into q plus 1 into r plus 1. So the number of factors become p plus 1 into q plus 1, and this is given to you as some number 15. Now please note, why I have not taken c power r in this particular case is that we can only split the number 15, one can say, maximum in two ways, 5 into 3, where both the numbers basically are more than 1. So here if you look at, one of the possibility could be 15 into 1, or it could be a 5 into 3. If I take the first scenario, then one will say the value of p would be 14 and q would be 0. And this basically means my number only have one prime factor, which one can say is of the form a power 14. So here my number could be of the form a power 14. In this particular case, second scenario, if p plus 1 is 5, p is 4, and if q plus 1 is 3, so one can say q become equals to a 2. So in this particular context, one can say my number has to be of the form a power 4 into b power 2. Now, the smallest possible number I can think about, the number n in the form of a power 14 could be 2 power 14, which definitely is going to be nothing but, one can say, 2 power 10 into 2 power 4. So 1024 into 16, and that basically will go something in 16,000s. So most likely my smallest possible number is going to come in this particular scenario, and one has to take the value of a. Please note, a, b and b are nothing but distinct prime factors. So one case could be, I will try with a equals to 2 and b equals to 3. So n become equals to 2 power 4 into 3 square, giving you a 16 into 9, which is equals to a 144. Then one will say, we will try with the number 2 power 4. I can take the next possible value of b as 5, which is 5 square. That will give you 16 times of 25, which one can say is equals to 400. So again, lot of chance of people making mistake, because if someone take these two numbers, they will quickly add the number 144 and the number 400. But understand, we can also take the value of a as 3 and the value of b as 2. So the number n could also be, for a equals to 3 and b equals to 2, will give you a 3 power 4 into 2 square, and that is 81 times of 4, which is a 324, which is less than the number 400. And my task is to find out the sum of the first two natural number. The smallest one happens to be 144. The second smallest happens to be a 324. So the sum of the two numbers in this particular case is 144 and the number 324, giving you a 468, and that is the answer for this particular question. In the next sum, it is given that let n be any natural number such that 5 raised to n minus 1 is less than 3 power n plus 1. Then the least integer value of m that satisfy the condition 3 power n plus 1 is less than 2 power n plus m for each n. So first of all, what I want to do is I need to find out for what value of n the given inequality is going to satisfy. One thing which you observe, this power of 5 is n minus 1. The power of 3 here is n plus 1. And if I ask you what is the difference between the term n plus 1 and n minus 1, and the answer basically would be nothing but a 2. So since n happens to be a natural number, I will possibly take the value of n to be equals to 1, and that will give you a 5 power 0 is less than 3 square, 1 is less than 9, perfectly fine. That means we can have the value of n to be equals to 1. Then if I put n equals to 2, then you will get 5 power 1, and this will become 3 cube. So 5 is less than 3 cube, 5 is less than 27. Yes, this is also perfectly fine. N could also be equals to 2. N equals to 3 will give you this part as 5 square less than 3 power 4. 25 is less than 81, perfectly fine. So the value of n can also be 3. If I put n equals to 4, one get 5 cube being less than 3 power 5. So 125 is less than 243 is also perfectly fine. N equals to 5 will give you 5 power 4 less than 3 power 6. So one can say 625 being less than 729, it's also perfectly fine. If I put n equal to 6, 5 power 5 will be less than 3 power 7. Now 5 power 5 happens to be a 3127. The number 3 power 7 happens to be, one can say, 2187. So this value of n won't satisfy. And after this also one can say the value is not going to be satisfied because 5 power 5 is actually more than 3 power 7. This is false. So we have seen that the largest value of n which satisfy this given inequality happens to be n equals to a 5. So in this particular case, if I need to find out the smallest integer value of m that satisfy this inequality, 3 power n plus 1 is less than 2 power n plus m for each such n. So in that particular case, it should satisfy for the largest value of n as well. So if it satisfies for the largest value of n, it will also satisfy for the smaller value of n as well. So in this particular context, since we have got the largest possible value of n to be equals to 5, this particular thing will become 3 power 6, 5 plus 1 is less than 2 power, one can say, 5 plus m. And 3 power 6 is nothing but, one can say, 729. So I want 2 power something to be more than 729. If you know the powers of 2 are 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512 and then 1024. In that particular case, one can say 2 power 9 is less than 729, but 2 power 10 is more than 729, which means my power over here, 5 plus m, need to be minimum 10. So the value of m over here must be more than equals to 10 minus 5, which is equals to 5. So the smallest integer value of m in this particular case happens to be a 5, and that is the answer for this particular question. In the next sum, it is given that the population of a town in 2020 was 1 lakh. The population decreased by y% from the year 2020 to 2021 and increased by x% from 21 to 22. Where x and y are two natural numbers. The population in 2022 was more than the population in 2020, and the difference between x and y happens to be, one can say, a 10. Then the lowest possible population of the town in 2021 will be how much? Now, this particular problem, to be honest, one can possibly take the help of, or should take the help of, calculator. So what is given? Let's try to understand this first of all. Talking about 3 years, one is 2020, 2021, and then 2022. So in the year 2020, the value was nothing but 1 lakh. Please note, I can work out with the example of taking this as 100 and all this option, I can just negate the last 3 0 also. It will all going to work. So fine, for the time being, let's assume it to be 1 lakh only. If it is 1 lakh in the year 2021, and then we can see a drop. So it's a drop of, one can say, a y%. You arrive at certain number, then you increase it by x%, and the value over here, one can say, is more than 2020. What does that mean? This value has to be more than, one can say, 1,0,0,0,0,0, 1 lakh. Now they have also given, definitely if I have reduced the value and then I'm increasing it so as it surpasses the initial value, one can say the value of x has to be more than y. And x and y, they are saying, are both natural numbers, and difference between x and y is 10. It simply means the value of x minus y should be equals to a 10. So in this particular case, since my target is to find out what is the smallest value in 2021, what one can do is, one can start with, let's say, option number 2 being the smallest. If this is 72,000, if it is true, what does that mean? If something is going from 1 lakh to a 72,000, it is dropping by 28%. So the value of y, one can say, is 28. In that particular case, if x minus y is 10, that means the value of x must be a 38%. So for option number 2 be the answer, one need to check that when 72,000, if I increase by 38%, is this part going above 1 lakh? If the answer is yes, one can choose to mark option number 2, otherwise go and check for option number 1. So in this particular case, you will observe, so one will take the help of calculator, 72,000 into a 1.38. Why? Because if something is increased by 38%, the new value becomes 138% of 72k. 138% means nothing but 138 upon 100, or one can say 1.38 times. This value you will find will come out to be slightly less than 1 lakh. And that means 72,000 should not be the answer. Then, if option number 2 is not right, I will check for 73. That means it's a drop of 27% initially. That means we need to increase this particular value by 37%. So if someone find out the value of 73,000, when increased by 37%, since y is 27, so the value of x become equals to 27 plus 10, which is 37. So 73,000 into 1.37 will give you a value which is, one can say, slightly more than 1 lakh. Again, do take the help of calculator over there, and I can freely choose to mark option number 1 as the answer. I won't be bothering about putting the values of x and y for 75,000 and 74,000. I will start with the smallest and I will see whether it matches or not. In a worst possible case, one has to go from 72 to 73 to 74 to a 75. That is the way to solve the problem in the exam condition. So even if someone take the help of calculator, the time taken to solve this particular question, I don't think is going to be more than 2 minutes. Again, a very, very straightforward problem. But yes, someone want to know what is the proper way to solve this particular question. In that particular case, what we have is a 1 lakh over here. Then we are seeing a drop of, let's say, so from 1 lakh, we are seeing a drop of y%. And then an increase of x%. And this increase over here is going to be, one can say, take the value to be more than 1 lakh. Now in this particular question, I can say it's a concept of offset. So when I decrease something by y% and then if I increase, let's say, by x%, it is not offsetting. I need the offset to be slightly positive. So, or one can think about the lines of successive percentage changes. So increase of A and then an increase of B leads to a plus B plus AB upon 100. So in this particular case, if I look at the percentage change after a drop of Y and an increase of X, one can say the net percentage change would be a minus Y plus X minus Y into X upon 100. This is my net percentage change, and what do I want? Since my final value is more than, let's say, 1 lakh, this change need to be, one can say, positive. So Over here, if you look at what is going to happen is this particular term x minus y is given to you as the number 10 from here. So this is 10 minus xy upon 100 is more than 0. And this basically would mean that the term xy upon 100 would be less than 10, or one can say x into y has to be less than 1000. Now please note that since x and y are both natural numbers, and if I want x into y to be, let's say, less than 1000, so over here if I need to find out the smallest possible population in 2021, we need to take the value of y as large as possible. That means the value of x also become as large as possible. So if I ask you, can I, let's say, think about if x into y need to be less than 1000, the largest possible product of x and y can be equals to a 999. Obviously we want to check whether it is possible or not. So x minus y is equals to 10, x into y is equals to 999. So what I can do in this particular case is x become equals to, one can say, y plus 10. So y plus 10 into y is equals to a 999. Y square plus 10y is equals to a 999. Now I can use, let's say, formula of quadratic. I can also think of using completing perfect square. So a y square plus 2 into y into 5. So add a 5 square on both sides. 999 plus 25. Y plus 5 whole square is equals to a 1024. So y plus 5 would be equals to a 32. So the value of y become equals to a 27 over here. And that's the largest possible value of y as natural number which one can take. So if y is 27, if I drop something by 27% from 1 lakh, that value comes down to nothing but a 73,000, and one can choose to mark option number 1 over here. Again, those of you who know this special number like 1001 happens to be nothing but 7 into 11 into 13. The number 999 happens to be nothing but 37 and 27. These two numbers can again establish a sort of connect, and one can choose this number 73,000 in a slightly faster manner. In the next sum, it is given that a boat takes 2 hours to travel downstream a river from port A to port B and 3 hours to return to port A. Another boat takes a total of 6 hours to travel from port B to port A and return to port B. If the speed of the boat and the rivers are constant, then the time in hours taken by the slower boat to travel from port A to port B. So first of all, few things if you observe, that they have not given the distance between the two port A and port B over here. But I do know that the time to go from A to B happens to be 2 hours by the faster boat and 3 hours for the return journey. So in this particular case, if I look at this A to B, where I can say it's a downstream scenario, and if I assume this particular boat, so let's suppose if I call speed of the boat minus speed of the stream, in the downstream scenario, one can say SB plus SS will be equals to nothing but the distance of port A and port B divided by the time taken. So if you look at over here, distance is constant and we can see a time of 2 hours and 3 hours. So if I assume the distance between A and B, let's say to be 6 for example. So I assume the distance between A and B to be equals to a 6. So the speed, the downstream speed become nothing but one can say 6 divided by 2 will give me nothing but a 3. Similarly, if I look at the journey from B to A, so in that particular case, my upstream speed become nothing but speed of boat minus speed of the stream. And this should be equals to 6 divided by 3, giving you a 2. So if you solve for this, one can find out what is the value of speed of boat and speed of the stream. So speed of boat, if you add them up, will come out to be 2 SB equals to 5. SB comes out to be 2.5. And speed of the stream comes out to be nothing but a 0.5. Now, if I want nice number instead of 2.5 and a 0.5, the main thing is the speed ratio of the boat and stream become nothing but 5:1. So if I want this to be 5 and 1, in that particular case, what we can now do is, let's take this distance to be 12 and not a 6. So if I take this as 12, in that particular case, this becomes a 6, this becomes a 4, and then this becomes a 5, and speed of the stream becomes a 1. This is what we have at this particular moment, and we have assumed distance between A and B, one can say, to be equals to a 12 kilometer. Now, if I look at the another boat, the slower one, which takes a total of 6 hours. Now, why I am saying it's a smaller, slower boat? Because this particular boat takes 2 plus 3, a total of 5 hours. In this particular case, time taken basically happens to be a 6 hour. So, speed of the stream basically will remain constant, which I have now taken it to be equals to a 1. And suppose if I say speed of the slower boat is equals to x. Speed of slower boat to be equals to x. So what is 6? 6 denote nothing but total time taken. So time for the upstream journey plus time for the downstream journey. Time for the upstream journey, one can say, should be equals to a distance of 12 to be covered at a speed of, one can say, x minus 1. Time for the downstream journey would be a distance of 12 between the port A and B at a speed of, one can say, x plus 1. And this total should be equals to, one can say, nothing but equals to 6. So from this, we can easily find out the value of x. So if you look at over here, this first of all can be reduced as 2 and 2. Let's take the LCM. So x minus 1 into x plus 1 becomes x square minus 1. Then one will get a 2x plus 2 plus a 2x minus 2 equals to a 1. If I look at now, this plus 2 minus 2 is going to get cancelled out. So one will get x square minus 1 equals to a 4x, or x square minus 4x minus 1 is equals to a 0. So from this I can find out the value of x. So the value of x in this particular case with the help of the formula, or you can use different method like completing a perfect square. This will be equals to 4 plus minus root of b square, so 4 square minus 4ac, so 4 into 1 into minus 1 divided by 2a, giving you this. So one gets a 4 plus minus, this becomes 16 plus 4, which is 20. 20 I can write as root of 20, I can write as 2 root 5 divided by 2. So the value of x in this particular case become nothing but 2 plus minus root 5. Now understand, in this particular case, since the value of x need to be more than 1, it has to be positive. So I will negate the quantity 2 minus root 5. So I will assume this particular x to be equals to a 2 plus root 5. So we have found out the speed of the slower boat. Now the task in this particular case is time taken in hours to go from port A to port B. Now understand, port A to port B happens to be a downstream journey. So the time taken is simply distance divided by speed, a distance of 12 with a downstream speed of, one can say, x plus 1. X plus 1 will be nothing but 2 plus root 5 plus 1. So 2 plus root 5 plus 1, giving you a 12 upon 3 plus root 5. Now at this particular point, one can choose to do rationalization. If I do that, 12 into 3 minus root 5, and you will get nothing but 3 plus root 5 into 3 minus root 5 will be equals to a 3 square minus root 5 square, giving you a 9 minus 5, which is equals to a 4. And this part will become 3 times of 3 minus root 5, and hence one can choose to mark option number 3 as the answer for this particular question. If I use a bit of jugaad in this particular case, possibly we can eliminate couple of answers. Like for example, if you look at the slower one takes a total of 6 hours. Now we know that A to B is going to be a downstream journey and B to A is going to be a upstream journey. And the speeds are definitely going to be different also in this particular case. Now understand one thing, if total time taken happens to be a 6 hours to go from A to B and let's say a B to A total return time, do you think the time to go from A to B and B to A would be 3 and a 3? And the answer definitely would be a no, because the downstream speed is definitely going to be more, and hence time taken to go from A to B should be less than 3. If it is going to be less than 3, and this basically one can say it definitely should be more than 3. So one thing is very certain in this particular case, that if I have got this to be less than 3, any option which is more than 3 can be straight away ruled out. If you clearly look at option number 4, 3 into 3 plus root 5, this quantity is 9 plus 3 root 5, definitely more than 3. It is also more than 6 and cannot be the answer. Then one can possibly look at this particular part. 3 into root 5 minus 1, the value of root 5 is approximately, one can take it as 2.23 or 2.24. So in this particular case, this is going to become 3 into 1.23. And this 3 into 1.2 also one can say is 3.6 and cannot be the answer. So two option number 2 and option number 4 can be ruled out using simple common sense. And then one has to decide between option number 1 and option number 3 over here. In the next sum, it is given that a merchant purchases a cloth at the rate of rupee 100 per meter and receives 5 centimeter length of cloth free for every 100 centimeter length of cloth purchased by him. He sells the same cloth at the rate of rupee 110 per meter, but cheats his customer by giving him 95 centimeter length of cloth for every 100 centimeter length of cloth purchased by the customers. If the merchant provide a 5% discount, then the resulting profit earned by him is how much? So this particular question happens to be slightly straightforward. So if you look at over here, what is causing the profit? So one is basically the amount which he is taking extra while purchasing. So factors are going to be, one basically is during the purchase, how much extra is he getting? So if you look at this particular component, it is receiving 5 centimeter length of cloth free for every 100 centimeter length of cloth purchased by him. That basically means it's going to create a profit of 5% extra. So my multiplier in this particular case become nothing but 1.05. Then what about the price factor? So the merchant sells the same cloth at the rate of 110. So the normal price basically was 100. The selling price of his basically happens to be a 110. So because of this, there will be a multiplier, one can say a further increase of 10%. So I will put a multiplier of 1.1 because the price sold was basically 10% more. Then while selling also, he's cheating the customer. And if you look at in this particular case, he's giving only 95 centimeter length of cloth for every 100 centimeter length of cloth purchased by the customer. So in this particular case, the multiplier one can say would be nothing but 1 upon 0.95. Because for every 100, he is only selling, let's say, a 95. And if you look at the discount component, that is going to bring down the effective profit percentage. So the discount basically given nothing but 5%. So one can say it become nothing but 0.95. So what happens if you look at eventually that this result is getting nullified. And finally, I want to do how much is 1.05 into 1.1. If you do the calculation, this will come out to be 1.155. And that means I eventually makes a profit of, one can say, I'm selling, one can say, at 115.5%. And hence one make a profit of 15.5%. Now one can also do this particular way as well, because eventually if you look at the net gain basically happens because the price increase and whatever quantity is purchasing extra, which is 5%. So one can say a successive percentage increase of 5% and a 10% is what my answer should be. So if I use the formula A plus B plus AB upon 100, 5 plus 10 plus 5 into 10 upon 100. So one get nothing but 15.5, and hence one can choose to mark option number 2 over here. In this particular sum, it is given that Rahul, Rakshita and Gurmeet working together would have taken more than 7 days to finish a job. On the other hand, Rahul and Gurmeet working together would take less than 15 days to finish the job. However, they all worked together for 6 days, followed by Rakshita, who worked alone for 3 more days to finish the job. If Rakshita has worked alone on the job, then the number of days she would have taken to finish the job cannot be. Now, suppose someone complete this particular question, because this topic is time and work and people would be tempted to invest their time. But understand the drawback. If I look at some minus point, why should I leave this particular question, is that they have not given how much time is taken by all the 3 people. It is just said more than 7. It is also not so told that the number of days taken by them has to be an integer number. So people can work with 8, 9 and so on. On the other side, Rahul and Gurmeet will take less than 15 days. Again, we don't know how much time this is going to take and so on. So now what we know is that all three has worked for 6 days and then Rakshita has worked for 3 more days to complete the task. Then they are saying the number of days Rakshita will complete the job alone cannot be. Now in this particular case, the options are going to be very, very useful for us. So what I will do in this particular case is, suppose if I take this particular situation, Rakshita cannot be. In that particular case, it has to be a sort of a range. So you can find out the least number of days which Rakshita can take and then max number of days Rakshita can take. And anything between them is going to be very much possible. So if I look at here, the smallest possible option given to you is 16. Then the highest possible option given to you happens to be a 21. So 16, 17, 20 and let's say a 21. Obviously, if I say cannot be among the four, one of them cannot be, that means other three definitely can be. So it is going to be either like this 16, 17, 20 will work, or it could be a possible 17, 20 or 21 will work. What does that mean? 17 and 20 is definitely going to work and hence cannot be the answer. So one can say it has to be between option number 3 or option number 4. I'm doing a bit of jugaad to arrive at the answer. So since I'm able to eliminate, let's say, 2 options, I'm going to, let's say, work with either, let's say, option number 3 or option number 4. If I start with option number 3 and if it works, if it satisfies all the condition, then I will choose to mark option number 3. If it doesn't, in that particular case, I will not hesitate to mark option number 4 over there. So let's see what could be the approach over here. So I'm going to do a bit of jugaad. And let's keep the first 3 points into consideration. Please note over here, what I will also do for the sake of convenience is I will take the person Rahul and Gurmeet as, let's say, one group, because we have never been given about Rahul alone and Gurmeet alone. So let me assume this group is nothing but simply A. So now suppose this group Rahul and Gurmeet, which I'm calling it as a person A, and Rakshita, so let's say A and R takes, one can say, X number of days to complete the work, where the value of X need to be more than 7. So X need to be more than 7. On the other side, Rahul and Gurmeet, which is the group A, will take, let's say, a Y number of days, where this Y need to be less than 15. So these are my 2 conditions. X need to be more than 7 and Y need to be less than 15. Now, in this particular case, they have given, however, they all 3 worked for 6 days. So I can say group A, which comprise of, one can say, Rahul and Gurmeet. So A worked for 6 days, Rakshita also worked for 6 days, and then Rakshita worked for additional 3 days. In simple word, one can say that the group of, let's say, Rahul and Gurmeet, which I'm calling it as A, has worked for 6 days in total, and Rakshita basically has worked for 9 days in total. So the total work is, one can say, 6 days work of the group A and let's say 9 days work for Rakshita over here. Now I'm assuming option number 3. I am testing with option number 3. What does that mean? Rakshita basically takes 21 days to complete the job. So I can figure out that what proportion of the work is done by Rakshita in 9 days. So in 9 days time, Rakshita will do 9 by 21. And this is nothing but 3 by 7. So if 3/7 of the work was done by Rakshita alone in those 9 days, which means the remaining 4/7 must have been done by this group of, let's say, Rahul and Gurmeet in those 6 days. So if 4/7 of the work is done by, let's say, this group A in 6 days, so what about 1? That basically will be nothing but 6 into 7 by 4, giving you a 10.5 days. So now what we have is, at this particular moment, that the group A will take 10.5 days and it very much satisfies this particular condition. Now we have one more condition, that the group A and R should take more than 7 days. So when I have taken this number as 21 and this number as 10.5, now we know that if I say the person A and B takes small a and small b number of days, total number of days taken to complete the work happens to be nothing but A into B by A plus B. So here the time taken for A and A plus R would be nothing but, one can say, 10.5 into a 21 divide by 21 plus 10.5, giving you a 31.5. This is into 3. This becomes 7. So when I take this R as this particular part as 21, in that particular case, the group A and R will take 7 days, which violates this particular condition. It should be more than 7. And hence one can say since this particular contradict this particular condition over here, and hence one can say that option number 3 should not be the answer, and one can go ahead and mark option number 4. Please note, after eliminating option number 1 and option number 2, one can start with 16. If it satisfies, mark 16, otherwise choose the other option. So over here, people can easily eliminate 2 options, but still one need to check the between 21 or 16 which works or which doesn't work. Just work around with one of the options over here. Again, my verdict, this question is not very straightforward. People can easily eliminate, but the chance of getting this particular question correct, I would say the accuracy has to be slightly on the lower side. So again, this is not going to be a category problem, probably a B or a C for many of them. People who are very good with approximation, jugaad, they can possibly call it to be a B. Many of them basically can call it as a C category as well. In the next sum on mixtures, it says that Anil mixes cocoa and sugar in the ratio of 3:2 to prepare a mixture A, and coffee with sugar in the ratio 7:3 to prepare mixture B. He combined mixture A and mixture B in the ratio of 2:3 to make a new mixture C. If he mixes C with an equal amount of milk to make a drink, then the percentage of sugar in this particular drink. So over here, understand you have mixture A, mixture B, then a mixture C, and then one more mixture is also there. So first of all, if I write over here mixture A, and in mixture A, if I look at the component cocoa and let's say sugar, it happens to be in the ratio of 3:2. And that's simply one thing, that out of every 5 parts in mixture A, 3 parts is cocoa and 2 parts is sugar. Then if I look at mixture B, in that particular case, the ratio of coffee and sugar. So please note, we have one more component, coffee and sugar. So coffee is 7 parts, sugar basically is 3 parts. So I can say coffee, sugar in the ratio 7:3 is same as saying sugar and coffee in the ratio 3:7. So here if you look at, this is out of every 10 parts, 3 parts is sugar and 7 parts basically happens to be coffee for mixture number B. Now what is happening in this particular case? We are mixing the mixture A and B in the ratio of 2:1. Now we understand in this particular case the total of this 2 is 5. Total of 7 plus 3 happens to be a 10. So what about if this have been taken as 2 and 3? I will get this number to be in decimal. So what we can say is, if I take this number as 20 and this number as 30, so if I take 20 parts of mixture A and 30 part of mixture B, in that particular case, we can easily find out the cocoa content and the sugar content. So out of 5, 3 cocoa, 2 sugar. So out of 20, one can say 4 times will give you a 12 and a 8. This will be 12, this would be 8. Now here out of 10, 3 sugar, 7 coffee. So out of 30, one can say 3 times will give you a 9 sugar and 21 coffee. So if you look at over here, the mixture number C, which is basically one can say 50. In that, cocoa is 12, sugar is 17, and coffee basically happens to be nothing but a 21. Now what they're saying is, if he mixes C with an equal amount of milk, so understand one thing, in this particular case we're taking 50 milk. So there's one more component now, milk, which is happening to be, one can say, a 50. So total in this drink, the total content becomes 100. And we are supposed to find out the percentage of sugar. So percentage of sugar becomes nothing but a 17 out of 100. And that basically amounts to a 17%. And hence one can choose to mark option number 4 over here. So if I look at the rating of this particular question, I would call this to be slightly on the easier side. And if you have seen the difficult algebra, you should find this particular question to be on the easy side. In the next sum, it says that there are 3 persons A, B and C in a room. If a person D joins the room, the average weight of the person in the room reduces by X kg. Instead of D, if another person E joins the room, the average weight of the person in the room increases by 2x kg. If the weight of E is 12 kg more than that of D, then the value of x is how much? So again, a very straightforward problem. So first of all, understand in this particular case that I have taken the average to be, let's say, equals to some number p over here. So what do we have? In case the person D joins A, B and C, so the total, one can say, weight will become A plus B plus C plus D, and this should be equals to reduces by x kg. So one can say it was P earlier, so P was the average weight of, let's say, A, B and C, and we are seeing a drop of x, so P minus x is the new average, and the number of, let's say, person happens to be nothing but 4 here. Now they are saying instead of D, if the person E joins the room, the average weight of the person in the room increases by 2x kg. So if I have the person A, B and C joined by E, in that particular case the average will become P plus 2x, and the number of people basically are 4 over here. Now we also know that E minus A, because E is 12 kg more than that of D, so E minus D is equals to a 12. So obviously I don't know the value of A, B and C over here. If I subtract, if I do equation number 2 minus equation number 1, A, B, C will get cancelled out, and 1 will simply get E minus D to be equals to 4 is also going to be, let's say, common. P plus 2x minus P plus x plus P minus P cancels out. E minus D is equals to 12. 12 is equals to 4 into this particular part, 2x plus x becomes a 3x. So 12 is equals to 12x, giving you x to be equals to a 1. This is 3 times, this is 1 time. So x become equals to 1, and the question was find the value of x, and hence option number 2 is the answer. So again, a straightforward problem. If people just follow the proper method, even in that particular case, I don't think people are going to take more than, let's say, 1.5 minutes. It can be done under 1 minute as well. In the next sum, suppose if I look at one more method to solve this particular question in a slightly better way. So what we already know that the room comprises of 3 persons A, B and C. When the person D joins the group, the average weight of the room reduces by x kg. Now please note, if the weight of the person D was equals to the old average, in that particular case, it should not, let's say, have impacted the new average. But since in this particular case, it says that once D is introduced, then the average falls over here by x, it simply means that it should be less than the old average, and one can say it must be how much? Minus this x need to be shared by 4 people, because A, B, C and D. Now they are saying if the person E joins the group, in that particular case the average goes up. So again, it must be more than the old average, but by how much? So an increase of 2x spread across, one can say, 4 people A, B, C and E. So 2x into 4. And they have also given difference between E and D happens to be a 12. So if I do this equation minus this equation, E minus D is 12. If I subtract RHS also, one will get 8x minus of minus 4x, giving you a 12x, and that simply give you x equals to 1, and one can mark option number 2 over here. In the next sum, it is given that the number of coins collected per week by 2 coin collectors A and B are in the ratio of 3:4. If the total number of coins collected by A in 5 weeks is a multiple of 7, and total number of coins collected by B in 3 weeks is a multiple of 24, then the minimum possible number of coins collected by A in 1 week is how much? So again, a straightforward question. Moment suppose someone complete this particular question, they will know what exactly need to be done. So if I look at suppose per week, and if I look at the collectors A and B, this ratio is given to you as 3:4. The number of coin collected by them is 3:4. That means I can take this particular numbers to be 3x and 4x. Now they are saying that if the total number of coin collected by A in 5 weeks, so if I look at the person A, in 1 week collects a 3x, so in a 5 weeks, the person A will collect nothing but 3x into 5, which is equals to a 15x. And what they are saying is that it need to be a multiple of 7. Now 15 into something need to be a multiple of 7, then in that particular case one can say that x need to be a multiple of 7, because 15 is not, one can say, a multiple of 7. Now they are saying the total number of coin collected by B in 3 weeks. So if I look at the person B in 3 weeks, will collect how much? One can say 4x in 1 week. So in 3 weeks, 4x into 3 will give you a 12x. So now, if I want the number 12x to be a multiple of 24, in that particular case, 12 is not a multiple of 24, but 12 into 2 is definitely a multiple of 24. So over here, one can say that for this 12x to be a multiple of 24, one can say that x need to be an even number. So, or one can say x need to be a multiple of 2. And the target is to find out the minimum possible number of coin by A in 1 week. So task is to minimize the value of 3x. If you want to minimize the value of 3x, the value of x need to be minimum possible, and it need to be a multiple of 7 and 2. That means x minimum is going to be a multiple of both 7 and 2, or one can say it has to be minimum equals to a 14, which is a multiple of both 7 and 2. So if someone put the value of x to be equals to 14, the number of coin collected by A in 1 week will become nothing but minimum 3 into 14, giving you 42. And that is the answer for this particular question. So a very, very simple question, and most likely people should, I would put it as a category question. It should have been attempted in a difficult paper like this. In the next sum, it is given that a fruit seller has a stock of mangoes, banana and apple with at least one fruit of each type. Please note, you have at least one mango, at least one banana and at least one apples. At the beginning of a day, the number of mangoes make up 40% of the stock. Now this simply means that the number of, let's say, total number of fruit need to be a multiple of 5. Why I am saying so? Because 40% correspond to, one can say, 2/5. Then they are saying that day he sells half of the mangoes. Okay, he is selling some mangoes, then 96 banana, and then 40% of the apples. Again, 40% of the apple means that the number of apples should also be a multiple of 5. At the end of the day, he ends up selling 50% of the fruit. So suppose if I say total number was one number, let's say 100x, in that particular case, he end up selling a 50x. So remaining is also going to be a 50x. The smallest possible total number of fruit in the stock at the beginning of the day is how much? So in this particular case, you need to be very, very careful. Again, not a very, very straightforward question. Even the options are not given to you. And I believe that this is not going to be a round 1 question. Most of you might, let's say, come back to as a round 2 and again possibly at a round 3. So according to me, this is again a slightly more difficult question because you can possibly go into a trap and you won't be able to realize what is the exact answer. Again, this being a theta, many of the people might have attempted it by putting some random numbers, but only few of the people might get this particular question on the right side. Let's look at the approach. So as what I will do in this particular case is we have 3 kinds of fruit. One is mango, banana and apple. And suppose if I assume the total to be equals to some number 100x. So from this particular sentence, you know that the number of mangoes are going to be nothing but, one can say, 40%. So one can say it has to be nothing but 40x over here, which would mean that B and A together must be nothing but equals to a 60x, because mango plus banana plus apple should be equals to 100x. Now, what I can do, I will take some variable. I can take 2 variables for B and A. But suppose in this particular case, if you focus on the apples part, as I told you, the number of apples should also be a multiple of 5 because you are selling 40%. Again, I'm saying 40% correspond to 2/5 of something. So suppose if I assume the number of apples to be 5y. Again, just for the sake of convenience. If I take this number of initial apples to be 5y, then my number of bananas initially must be nothing but 60x minus 5y. So we are trying to, let's say, take as less variable as possible. We have taken 2 of them at the moment. This is what we have at the start. Now, after we sell, so if I look at the selling part, the total amount of the fruit sell has to be nothing but equals to 50% of 100x, giving you a 50x. Let's look at the split, what have been sold. If I look at the mangoes, half of the mangoes were sold. So half of this particular number 40x correspond to one can say a 20x. Then if you look at the banana being sold happens to be nothing but 96. That's an absolute number given to you. And then if I look at the apples, 40% of the apples were sold. 40% of the number 5y will be nothing but 2 by 5 of 5y giving you a 2y. And the total fruit sold, this sum has to be equals to one can say some number 50x. So if I equate this, so one can say 50x must be equals to a 20x plus 96 plus a 2y. From this I will get 30x because 50x minus 20x will give me 30x is equals to a 96 plus 2y. Now please note the task for you in this particular case is to minimize the smallest possible total number of fruits. So in a way we need to find out the smallest value of 100x. This need to be minimized. And to minimize this, basically we need to minimize the value of x. So if 100x correspond to this particular number, then one can say the number 100x will be nothing but over here we need to multiply by 10 by 3. So if I do that into 10 by 3, so 96 by 3 happens to be nothing but, or one can say let's find out first of all 10x for the sake of convenience. You can do this number also. So 10x would be nothing but one can say divide by 3 giving you a 32 plus one can say 2 by 3 of y here. And then if I need to find out the number 100x, this particular part becomes a 100x will be 10 times 320 plus a 20y by 3. So if I need to find out the least value of 100x, that's my target, then this particular part should be as low as possible. Now 320 plus something. And if I want this particular part to be smallest, the smallest possible value of y I should take is nothing but a 3 because total number of root need to be a proper integer. So smallest value of y which we can put in this particular case must be equals to a 3 and that will give you a 320 plus 20 into 3 divided by 3 will give you another 20 giving you a 340. Please note that one could say we could take the value of y to be equals to 0. If you take y to be equals to 0, that means the number of apple we have taken at the start become equal to 0 and which will violate this particular condition, and hence the answer won't be 320. The answer basically would be a 340 over here. So 340 is the required answer for this particular question. Overall, many of you will find this particular question to be on the difficult side and this will fall under the bracket B or a C for me. In the next sum, it says that Gautam and Suhani working together can finish a job in 20 days. If Gautam does only 60% of his usual work on a day, Suhani must do 150% of her usual work on that day to exactly make up for it. Then the number of days required by the faster worker to complete the job working alone will be how much? So in this particular case, right now we don't know who is faster between the person Gautam and Suhani. Let's read this particular part carefully. Second sentence. If Gautam does only 60% of his usual work, in that particular case, the efficiency lost or reduced by Gautam happens to be nothing but 40%. So lost is 40% of Gautam. And this is compensated by Suhani doing 150% of her usual work on that particular day. That simply means that Suhani basically is increasing her efficiency by 50%. So the 40% loss, efficiency loss of Gaurav is compensated by 50% of Suhani. So from this I can easily find out the ratio of the efficiency of Gautam and Suhani, and that basically comes out to be nothing but a 50 upon 40, which is 5:4. That simply means if Gautam does 5 parts or 5 units in a day, Suhani will do a 4 over here. And if you look at over here, the faster person happens to be nothing but Gautam. So since both of them working together can complete a task in, let's say, 20 days, so one can say total work can be taken up as G plus S will do a 9. So total work basically one can say nothing but 9 into 20. And this work need to be performed by Gautam. So time taken by one can say Gautam is nothing but a work of 9 into 20 to be performed at the rate of 5. 5 into 4 is 20. 9 times of 4 happens to be equals to a 36. So again, I would say a straightforward question on time and work, and this also I am going to call it as A category of problem. So given a tough algebra, you should not miss out on this easy questions of arithmetic. Now, those who found the previous part, it's slightly difficult. What we can do in this particular case is from the first sentence, if G and S working together can take 20 days, so I can say if I assume G and S to be the amount of work done by Gautam and Suhani in one day, so total work can be taken up as 20 into G plus S. Now, if Gautam does only 60% of usual work, in that particular case, efficiency of Gautam become, one can say 0.6 G. In that particular case, Suhani has to do at the rate of 1.5 for 20 days to compensate. So if you look at 20, will get easily cancelled out. If you solve for this, one gets a 0.4 G is equals to, this is S here, 0.5 S. So G by S becomes 0.5 upon 0.4, which again comes out to be nothing but in the ratio of 5 and 4 over here. In the next sum, it is given that let triangle ABC be an isosceles triangle such that AB and DC are of equal length. AD is the altitude from A on BC and BE is the altitude from B on AC. If AD and BE intersect at O such that angle AOB is equals to 105 degree, then find the ratio of AD by BE. Again, not a very straightforward problem. People, let's say, have a difficult time, let's say, remembering some of the trigonometric formula. So again, this is not going to be A category problem, could be a B or a possible C. So again, if people tend to use Jugaad, then they can put them under a possible A or a B category as well, but people need to be sound in knowing the property of geometry. So what we can do in this particular case, I will look at two methods. One is sort of a Jugaad, and obviously I will start off with the comprehensive, or one can say the conventional method. So the triangle ABC is isosceles with AB and AC of equal length. So AB and AC are of equal length, and AD is the altitude from A on BC. So AD is perpendicular. Now since AB and AC are equal, then this perpendicular is also going to be, one can say, angle bisector, median, as well as perpendicular bisector. So this BD and DC are going to be nothing but equal. Then they are saying BE is the altitude from B on AC, this is 90, and the intersection point happens to be at O, and angle AOB is given to you as 105 degree. Now in this particular case, if this angle AOB is 105, then please note that this angle AOB is the exterior angle of this triangle AEO over here. So this 105, exterior angle should be equals to, one can say, angle AEO plus angle EAO, sum of the opposite interior angle. So 105 is equal to 90 plus something, so that something will become nothing but, one can say, angle EAO simply become equals to a 15 degree. This part become 15 degree. And then one can say angle ACD, one can take it as a 75 degree. So people, you need to possibly take the help of complementary angles of trigonometric ratio and so on. The sine of 90 minus theta is cos theta and something on those lines. Let's go further. This is the starting part. The target is to find out AD and BE. So AD is the, one can say, height of the triangle when BC is the base. BE, one can say, is the height when AC is the base. So one can say that the areas are equal. So whether we take BC as a base or a AC as a base, the area has to be same. So area I can write will be equals to half of height AD, corresponding base is BC, should be equals to half of, when the height is BE, the corresponding base is AC. And if you look at over here, the target definitely was to find out the ratio of AD and BE. So AD upon BE ratio is nothing but the ratio of AC and BC. Now why I have done this, because moment I, let's say, write this AC and BC, then one can say that we are able to find out something in the right angle triangle. So if I look at this BC, BC one can write is nothing but 2 times of BD or 2 times of DC. Since D is the midpoint of BC, as AD is not only a altitude, it is also a perpendicular, bisector, median, etc. So this ratio, which I need to calculate, eventually becomes AC divided by 2 times of DC. Now, if you look at AC and DC, is this part of right angle triangle, where one can say AC is one of the side hypotenuse and CD is one of the perpendicular side. So here if you look at how can I link AC and let's say CD with this angle 15 degree. So one can say cosec 15 degree is nothing but equals to hypotenuse upon opposite. What is hypotenuse in this particular case? One can say for right angle triangle ADC, AC is the hypotenuse. And what about the opposite is nothing but DC. So in this particular case, the required ratio of AC upon 2 DC. So AC upon DC right now becomes a cosec 15. So my required answer must be cosec 15 divided by 2. But unfortunately, this should be the answer, but I have not been given something in the form of cosec 15. So what I will do, maybe we can play around. Let's find out this is going to be equals to 1 upon, because cosec theta is equals to, one can say 1 upon sine theta. So the answer one can say would become 1 upon 2 sine 15. So as I told, this is a conventional method and people will find difficult. Many of you might be able to reach this particular step, and after this you might, let's say, lost track of what need to be exactly done. Now at this moment, since I want in the numerator we need to have a sine 15 or a cos 15, I will possibly apply the concept of sine of multiple angle. Sine 2 theta is equals to 2 sine theta into cos theta. So let's say if I deliberately multiply here, one can say by cos 15 in both numerator and denominator, then this will become cos 15 divided by this particular part 2 sine theta into cos theta becomes sine of 2 theta. So this becomes sine of 2 into 15, which is sine of 30 degree. And people, sine 30 is equals to half, so one get nothing but cos 15 divided by half, and this become equals to 2 into cos 15. So at this particular moment, many of us should mark option number 3 as the answer. So please note, this is not a straightforward problem. People have a difficult time in, let's say, looking at the trigonometric ratio. And as I told you, many of you might reach at this particular stage. And after this, again, you are not going to easily crack this particular sum. Now let's talk about the jugaad. If I use common sense also, we can possibly solve this particular question. So here, understand this particular triangle if I look at ABC, because ultimately we have to find out the ratio of AC upon BC. This angle A, BAC will become nothing but 15 plus 15. As I told you, AD is also the angle bisector. This become equals to a 30 degree. This part then will become, because AB and AC are equal, this becomes 75 and 75. Now the thing is, you should know this particular property in a triangle, that the side opposite to the larger angle is going to be larger. So in this particular case, if I want to arrange the side in the descending order or the ascending order, whatever you want to call it, the largest side basically in this particular case are going to be, one can say AB and AC are equal, and they are going to be more than BC, because this angle is smaller. Angle A is smaller than angle B and C, and hence the side opposite to B and C are going to be larger. Both of them are equal, and the side opposite to angle A would be the smallest. So I am saying in this particular case, the side AC is definitely going to be more than BC. And if AC is more than BC, then the ratio of AC and BC has to be more than 1. So the required answer, option number 1, 2, 3, 4 should lead to a value which is going to be more than 1. Now the issue is that we are not comfortable with the value of, let's say, 15 degree of some sine, cos and so on. But let's find out, do you know sine 0? Do you know the value of, let's say, 30 degree? The answer is yes. Sine 0 is 0. Sine 30 is half. If I look at cos 0 is 1. Cos 30 is equals to a root 3 by 2. So this is between, one can say, 0.5. Root 3 by 2 is approximately 0.866. So if you look at Option number 1, sine 15 will definitely going to be between sine 0 and sine 30. So between 0 and half. I am looking for something which is more than 1. Option 1 is out. Option number 2 says cos 15 again will be between the number 1 and 0.866 less than 1. So again option number 2 is also out. Then if I look at suppose option number 3, 2 into cos 15. As I told you, the value of cos 15 would be between 1 and 0.866. So 2 times of that number would be, one can say, between the number 2 and root 3, which is between the number 1.732 and 2. And that is definitely more than 1. So right now option number 3 should be the answer. Let's also check option number 4. Again, sine 15 is between 0 and 0.5. So 2 times of sine 15 would be nothing but, one can say, between 0 and 1. So this thing is between 0 and 1, and that simply means that this is also not going to be the answer. And hence one can be very sure to mark option number 3 over here. In the next sum, it is given that a rectangle with the largest possible area is drawn inside a semicircle of radius 2 cm. Then the ratio of the length of the largest to the smallest side of the rectangle is how much? So again, if you look at, we can have couple of methods to solve this particular question. So one basically is that you have a semicircle, and what we want is, the main thing is we want to find out the largest possible area for such a rectangle. Let's say we are talking about a rectangle like this. This is the center of the semicircle. Let's say radius is given to you as 2. If I call this particular length can be termed as 2. If I call this particular part, let's say, as B, and this is equals to a L, you can also take 2L if you want to. In that particular case, this part will become L by 2. This part also becomes L by 2. If I call this as A, B, C, D being my largest possible rectangle. So first of all, the thing is that, can I relate L, B and some number? And the answer is, with the help of Pythagoras theorem, we can connect L, B and A. So one can say L by 2 square plus a B square should be equals to, one can say 2 square, or one can say a 4. So what do we have? L square by 4 plus a B square is equals to a 4 given to us. Now, the task is what? We need to maximize the area. So what is the area of this rectangle? So one can say it has to be nothing but L into B. So this A need to be maximized. Now, what we have is something like L square upon 4 and a B square term. So in this particular case, my task is to maximize the product. So we can take the help of, one can say, AM and GM property. So if my two term, let's say, are L square by 4 and let's say B square. So one can say the arithmetic mean, I'm using the property AM is more than equals to a GM. So L square by 4 plus a B square by 2, that's my arithmetic mean, must be more than equals to geometric mean, which has to be nothing but square root of the product. Please note the term L square by 4 and B square are going to be both positive, so we can definitely use AM more than equal to GM property. So one gets a L square by 4 into B square. Now this particular part is known to us as the number 4. L square by 4 plus B square is 4. 4 upon 2 becomes a 2. 2 is more than equals to, this part becomes LB by 2. Or one can say LB would be less than equals to a 4. So one can notice that LB is less than equals to 4. It simply means in this particular case, the max possible area will be equals to 4. And what we know is that in AM more than equal to GM inequality, the equality holds good when the terms are going to be equal. What does that mean? That simply means the term L square by 4 must be equals to a B square. Then only we can have the max scenario. So L square would be equals to a 4B square, and that basically means L would be equals to a 2B. So if I look at the ratio of the largest to the smallest side of the rectangle, the ratio of L and B, because I have taken L and B as the length and the breadth of the rectangle, and L by B ratio become nothing but, one can say, 2:1. So one can choose to mark option number 2 over here. Please note, there would be many people who may want to solve this particular question with the help of calculus. You can very much do it, because once we got this particular property, you have to maximize the value of A, which is nothing but L into B. So I am just giving you the heads up in case you want to do it. One can possibly say if A is maximum, then area square is also going to be maximum. So A square would be equals to L square into B square. Then we can write down only in terms of one variable, maybe in terms of L or in terms of B. And then we can find out what is the value of L and B, and then we can find out the ratio of L and B as well. That can also be done. So you could have done L square into B square stands for 4 minus L square by 4. This is 4L square minus L power 4 by 4. Then apply derivative if you want to. This will become equals to 8L minus 4L cube upon 4 equals to 0. I'm not going into finding out the values over here, but people who want to use calculus, those of you who are scared, can avoid this. They can take the help of AM more than equals to GM property. If I look at the most simplistic way to solve this particular question, in that particular case, if I ask you a simple question that in a circle, if I wanted the largest possible rectangle, one can say it has to be nothing but a square. So if I take a circle, in that particular case, the square is going to be nothing but one with the largest possible area. So if I call this as A, B, C, D being the square, where A, B, B, C, C, D, A, D all are equal. So in case I talk about a semicircle, so if I do it in this particular manner, suppose if I call this with diameter, in that particular case, this portion and this portion definitely are going to be equal. This is going to be a 1, this is going to be a 1. So the bigger, for the complete circle, the square ABCD is nothing but having a side of 2. This is 2, this is 2. So now for the semicircle scenario, we have to only concerned about this rectangle is going to be the one with the largest possible area. And if you look at the ratio of the larger side to the smaller one, it happens to be nothing but in the ratio 2:1. So one can safely choose to mark option number 2 over here. In the next sum, a straightforward one, it says that in a regular polygon, any interior angle exceed the exterior one by 120 degree. Then the number of diagonal in the polygon is how much? So first of all, to find out the number of diagonal, we can use the formula which is n into n minus 3 by 2, or people can say nc2 minus n. nc2 is the total number of line we can have with the n vertex or n in vertex, and we can say n is nothing but the number of sides, so the remaining is nothing but the number of diagonal. So n into n minus 3 by 2 is a formula which should be known to all of us. Now to find out this, the thing which we need to calculate is the value of n. For that, the first sentence basically will come into picture. So what they are saying is any interior angle exceed the exterior angle by 120 degree. What does that mean? Interior minus exterior is equals to 120. And we also know that for each vertex, let's say, each interior and each exterior are supplementary, giving you a sum of 180 degree. So from this, if you add them up, one get 2 times interior is 300. Interior becomes 150, which means each exterior angle become equals to a 30 degree. And since we know that the number of sides is nothing but 360, because the total sum of all the exterior angle must be equals to a 360 degree. So the number of side become 360 divided by 30, giving you a 12. So once I got the number of side to be equals to 12, we can simply put the value of n equals to 12 in this formula, n into n minus 3 by 2. So it becomes 12 into 12 minus 3 is 9 divided by 2. So it becomes 6 into 9, giving you a 54. And that's the required answer for this particular question. So again, a straightforward problem. If you know simple property of a regular polygon, and if you know the formula of number of diagonals of a regular polygon with n number of sides, this is definitely a A type of problem. Let an is equals to 46 plus 8n and bn is equals to 98 plus 4n be two sequences for natural number n less than equals to 100. Then sum of the all term common to both the sequences is how much? So in this particular case, let's write down the sequence of an. So for n equals to 1, one get nothing but one can say 46 plus 8 giving you a 54. So it's an AP with a common difference of 8. So 54, 62, 70, 78, 86, 94 and so on. the last value of n which one will put is nothing but n equals to 100. That will give you 46 plus 800, which is 846. Now, if I look at the Bn sequence, so for n equals to 1, it becomes a 102. Then one can say it has a common difference of 4 here. So n equals to 2 will give me 106, then 110, then 114, 118, and so on like this. The last term n equals to 100, that is B100, will be nothing but a 498. So if I want terms which are going to be common, the highest possible number I can think of is going to be 498, because the second sequence terminate at 498. So over here, and the second sequence starts from the number 102. So over here, definitely one can say we have to look for something which is common between an and bn. So if I look at suppose an, if you divide each of this number 54, 62, 70 by 8, one can say it's giving you a remainder of 6. Each of this number are basically of the form 8k plus 6. So I want to see that in Bn, do we have a number of the form 8k plus 6? So if I look at the first term 102, 102 if you divide by the number 8, you do get 6 as a remainder. If you, let's say, divide the number 106 by 8, you get 2 as a remainder. So 106 is not going to be a common term. 102 is definitely going to be a common term. Then 110 also, if you divide by the number 8, you will find 6 to be the remainder. So what we are finding out in the second sequence, 102 is the first common term. Then 110 is the second common term. And you will keep on getting the common term, one can say, at an interval of 8, which is 118, 126, and so on. So every second term, one can say, starting from the first term in the second sequence, are going to be the common term with the first sequence. So over here, since we have 50 terms, because total number of terms in the second sequence was 100, and we are only going to take 50 terms over here. So the first term is known, the number of terms are known, even the common difference is known to us. So we can use different formula. The sum of n terms of an AP is given by n by 2 into 2a plus n minus 1 into d. I can also, if I want to, I can find out the last term also. So if you look at the 498, if you divide by the number 8, you get 2 as a remainder. So it's not the last term. The term before that will be nothing but 4 less, which is 494. So you can use n by 2 into first term plus last term as well. So let's say we use that also now. The number of terms are 50, n by 2 into first term, which is 102, last term, which is 494. This becomes, one can say, 25 times of, this is 596. So this, if you do this, 496 into 100 by 4, this becomes a 149. So it becomes 14900, and hence one can choose to mark option number 2 over here. The next sum is tricky. Again, I will show you a couple of methods to solve this particular question, one with the help of Jugaad and one the normal conventional manner, which most of you won't be able to solve in the exam condition. So here, if you look at the sequence 1, then second term is 1 plus 1 by 3 into 1 by 4. Third term is 1 plus 1 by 3 plus 1 by 9 times 1 by 16, and so on like this. So this is going on up to infinity, and the option given to you are 15 upon 8, 27 by 12, 16 by 11, and 15 by 13. If I go for the conventional manner, let's first of all focus on this particular part. So I can write down the general term, and I'm not focusing on the, let's say, term 1 by 4, 1 upon 16, 1 upon 64, and so on for the time being. So if I look at the second term, contains a 1 plus 1 by 3. The third term contains a 1 plus 1 by 3 plus 1 by 9. Fourth term contains a 1 plus 1 by 3 plus 1 by 9 plus 1 upon 27. So here we can say 1 plus 1 by 3 plus 1 by 3 square, all the way up to, one can say, 1 upon 3 raised to n minus 1. N terms are there. Second term has 2 in the bracket, third term has 3, fourth term has 4. So my nth term is going to have nothing but n. Please note n tends to infinity, but right now we are just trying to find out a general term like this. Then if I focus on the other component, second term has 1 by 4. The third term, one can say, is 1 by 4 square. The fourth term is 1 by 4 cube. So my nth term in this particular case, one can say, would be 1 by 4 raised to n minus 1. Now what is going to happen is I can look at the first bracket and we can apply, let's say, sum of the n terms of a GP. So this sequence you can say is containing n term, first term as 1, common ratio as 1/3. So I can use the formula A into bracket 1 minus r power n divided by 1 minus r. So 1 into 1 minus 1 by 3 raised to n divided by 1 minus 1 by 3. Further multiplied by 1 by 4 raised to n minus 1. And now this particular component 1 minus 1 by 3 will become a 2 by 3 here, and that if will go in the numerator will become nothing but one can say a 3 by 2. So now let's multiply, and what is going to happen over here is we have a 3 by 2 here. If you multiply 1 into that 1 by 4, so 1 by 4 raised to n minus 1 minus this particular part, if you look at carefully, 1 by 3 into 1 by 4 will become nothing but 1 by 12 raised to a n minus 1. So if I have to do this, then in that particular case, I need to multiply here by 3. We can just check it out whether we are right or wrong in this particular case, or we need to. So here we have 3 raised to n minus 1, and here we have taken 3. That is wrong. We need to do a 1 by 3 in this particular case, because we have 3 power n ultimately. So now if you look at in this particular case, that if I need to find out the summation, this is going to be summation of Tn. So 3 by 2 is common. I will apply summation over here, and we can use the formula that in case of a GP of sum of infinite number of terms, the sum is A divided by 1 minus R. So here one can say this particular sequence will have a common ratio of 1 by 4. The first term as 1. So 1 upon 1 minus 1 by 4. Then this part is 1/3 here. What about this 1 by 12 raised to n minus 1? This will be 1 plus 1 by 12 plus 1 by 12 square and so on. This also forms a sort of a GP with the first term as 1 and the common ratio as 1 by 12. So 1 upon 1 minus 1 by 12. And this is what I'm supposed to evaluate because n tending to infinity. 3 by 2 here. This particular part will become 1 upon 3 by 4. So one can say we have 4 by 3 minus 1 by 3 into this part will become 1 minus 1 by 12 is 11 by 12. That will become a 12 by 11. So if I look at over here, one can say 3 by 2. Let's take the LCM, which is 3 into 11, and one get 4 into 11, 44. 44 minus 44 minus the number 12. 44 minus 12 become nothing but a 32. So if I simplify this 3 and this 3 will get cancelled out. 2 times 16 is 32. So one gets simplified result of 16 upon 11. And that basically means the required answer over here must be option number 3. If I look at the Jugaad way to solve this particular question, because the previous method is too complicated and not many of you would be able to spot the approach, the best way in this kind of problem basically is you can take the couple of terms, maybe 3 to 4 terms, and then try to use the options over here, because the subsequent terms are going to be very, very small. So over here, if I write down the terms, the first term is 1. The second term would be, first of all, the term 1 plus 1 by 3 will become equals to a 4 by 3 and then into a 1 by 4. If I look at the third term and if I look at the portion inside the bracket 1 plus 1 by 3 plus 1 by 9, if I take the LCM as 9, then one will get 9 plus 3 plus 1, which is 13. And you have a 1 upon 16 here. If I look at the fourth term, even though not required, but again for the sake of convenience, let's take the fourth term. Then if I look at the bracketed term 1 plus 1 by 3 plus 1 by 9 plus 1 upon 27, if I take 27 as a LCM over there, one get 27 plus 9 plus 3 plus 1 giving you a 40. And this is into 1 upon 64. Let's simplify this. 1 plus this part is 1 by 3. The third term one can say becomes equals to a 13 divided by 144. Then this particular part we can reduce. I can cancel 40 and 64 by the number 8. 8 5s are 8 8s are 5 over 216. At this particular point, one should use calculator or you can go for some approximation. This is 1. Second term is 0.33. The third term would be 13 divided by 144. 10% of 144 correspond to nothing but the number 14.4. So 13 over 144 can be said be less than slightly 10% or 9%, which is 0.09 decimal term. 5 over 216, this particular thing is going to be 1% is 2.16, 2% correspond to 4.32. So this thing is close to 2% in terms of decimal, a 0.02. So if you look at, if I add the number 1 plus 0.33 plus 0.09 plus let's say 0.02, this thing comes out to be close to, one can say, 1.44. And what I want to do is, the answer over here has to be very, very close to 1.44, because the subsequent term are going to become very, very small. It will become 0.0001, something of that kind. So if I look at the option number 1, 15 upon 8 is nothing but 1 plus 7 by 8, which is 1.875, very, very high than the number 1.44, and should not be the answer. If I look at the number 27 upon 12, that is more than 2, can also be ruled out. If I look at the number 16 upon 11, that is 1 plus 5 by 11, this become 1.4545 and so on. It looked like our answer. If I look at option number 4, this is 1 plus 2 by 13, and this thing is approximately 1.15. So clearly the answer has to be more than 1.33. So option number 4 can be ruled out, and one can safely choose to mark option number 3 over here. In this sum, it is given that suppose f of x comma y is a real valued function such that f of 3x plus 2y comma 2x minus 5y is equals to a 19x for all real number x and y. The value of x for which f of x comma 2x is equals to 27 is how much? So understand, in this particular case, this particular function is not dependent on the value of y. So what we want to do is, we have to use some sort of linear combination of 3x plus 2y and let's say 2x minus 5y, which is independent of y, and the coefficient of x should become equals to a 19. So clearly, if someone is good with numbers, you can see that if you want a common number, I need a multiple of 2 and 5, which happens to be a 10. So if I multiply this particular part by 5 and this particular part by 2, so one gets a 15x plus 10y. This would become, one can say, 4x minus 10y. And if I add the 2, then in that particular case, y term will get cancelled out and one always get nothing but 15x plus 4x, giving you the term 19x. But for those who can't spot this particular pattern, what we can do is, let's think about that we are multiplying here by a and this number, let's say, by b. It's a linear combination of, let's say, 3x plus 2y and 2x minus 5y. So I can write the function f of 3x plus 2y comma 2x minus 5y need to be a times 3x plus 2y plus a b times 2x minus 5y. And then let's try to look at the coefficient of x and the coefficient of y. So if I look at the coefficient of x, it will be equals to a 3a plus 2b into x. If I look at the coefficient of y, you will get 2a minus 5b into y. And since the function is always equals to a 19x, if I compare the both sides, so one can say the coefficient of y need to be 0. So 2a minus 5b need to be equals to 0, and the term 3a plus 2b need to be equals to a 19. At this particular point, we can simply try to find out the value of a and b over here. So let's try to eliminate the variable a. So one get nothing but, if I multiply by 3, 6a minus 15b is equals to 0. If I multiply by 2 in the next equation, one get a 6a plus 4b is equals to a 38. And then if I subtract, one gets a minus 19b is equals to a minus 38. And that means the value of b become equals to a 2. If I get the value of b to be equals to 2, the term 2a is equals to 5b. So for b equals to 2, one get 2a to be equals to 10, giving you a equals to a 5. So we can now say that the required function is nothing but, so if I have something like f of maybe something like m comma n, it has to be nothing but 5 times of m plus, let's say, 2 times of n. So since they have given you over here that f of x comma 2x is 27, this is going to be equals to, this x need to be multiplied by 5 and this 2x need to be multiplied by 2x, will give you a 5x plus 4x giving you a 9x, which need to be equals to a 27, and hence the value of x become equals to a 3. So in this particular case, we are supposed to find out the value of x, for which f of x comma 2x is 27, and that value of x is equals to 3, and hence the answer. But again, please note, those of you who are not comfortable with the functions topic, this particular question I am going to rate it as a type C, because most of us will not be able to spot that we need to eliminate y in this particular way, and one need to do into 5 and into 2 in the first and the second variable.